Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I apologize for being absent all these months. I've been trying to help my other channel grow, which is the MJ Innocent podcast. I am 10 subscribers away from my first 1,000, so I'm very excited about that. So I do apologize for putting this channel on the back burner. So in the meantime, do not worry. I was thinking of ideas of what I can do to help this channel grow as well. And I do appreciate the fact that all of you guys have been interested in the John List case, and do not worry, I will continue to cover it. I am also going to cover other cases, and I also want to make videos just about random topics, such as, TV, video games, food, books, etc. So I think it would be very interesting. Okay. So in tonight's episode, we are going to discuss the Rose Larner case. This will be at least a 3-part video. Alright, so right here is a picture of Rose Larner. She was a very beautiful girl. Now this case takes place in 1993 when she was 18 years old. She was the second child of 3. She was a highly intelligent but very difficult teenager. She was kind of the typical teenage girl who had the attitude, kind of a smart mouth. She loved to spend time with her friends, away from her family. She would go out at night, and it even got to the point that her family referred to her as the vampire because they only saw her during the day. But, we've all been teenagers. Usually people grow out of it. It just depends on the kind of people that you have in your life. And sometimes, even when you have bad people in your life, you can either leave them behind and restart your life. And sometimes it can lead to bad situations. This man right here is Bill Brown. He was one of Rose's best friends. They met in 2nd grade, and they remained friends even after high school. And that's always amazing if you can literally be friends from grade school all the way past high school. Bill Brown claimed that Rose was the first girl he ever received a kiss from. They were just good friends. They did have feelings for each other, according to Bill, but it was nothing serious. And why they never got together, I don't know. Maybe they were just afraid to risk their friendship, I've made that mistake a few times. Actually, my 2 ex-boyfriends were my best guy friends. Yeah, it's a really big risk when you do that. So, anyway, after high school, instead of going to college, Rose decided to get a job at a pizza parlor in her hometown of Lansing, Michigan. And then she started dating a friend of Bill Brown's, John Ortiz Kehoe. Now, Rose's mother, who is also named Rose, she described him as being very polite when she first met him. He was the local rap star. Everyone in town just thought that he was just it. And she said, when I first met him, I thought he was nice. I thought he was all right. So, Rose, John Kehoe, and Bill Brown were inseparable, spending their days and most of their nights together. There was even a time when Rose and John Kehoe were living together. And tell me how you feel about that in the comments, because I know some people like to live together before they get married, or to see how they can handle living with each other, but I don't know. I've never lived with a boyfriend before, and at that time, they were 18, so I don't think that's a good idea, personally. But unfortunately, like all young love, the relationship did not work out, And John moved out of the house, and Rose was devastated. Now remember, Rose was 18 at the time, and I was 20 when I went through a very painful heartbreak myself. And even though we didn't live together, let me put you this way. I'll talk about this in a later video, because let me tell you, do I have stories to tell you about that relationship. Even though I'm happy that I'm out of that situation, which I'm pretty sure Rose would be at this point, but back then I was 20 when that relationship ended, and I was not willing to accept it. But I didn't go as far as Rose did. There were a couple of times when I felt Rose went a little too far after the breakup, but let me explain. Okay, so even after Rose and John broke up, they had a very unusual relationship. Now, this is something that I heard from Forensic Files, so I don't know if they meant that they still stayed friends after they broke up, or if they continued dating each other even after they broke up. You know, because I know that might sound weird. You know, because usually with breakups, I mean, not only is the relationship over, but usually the friendship is over too. But I don't know. Like I said, these kids were 18 at the time, so it actually wouldn't surprise me that they would hook up even though they broke up. And I think that was playing with Rose's emotions, you know. So what happened was, John was on a date with another woman, and Rose was so angry that she drove her mother's van into the side of Kehoe's truck. And whether John Kehoe, filed charges against her for, vandalism, or even stalking for that matter, I really don't know. And I'm pretty sure you're thinking, stalking? Yeah, because according to Bill Brown, he said that not only did Rose smash her mother's van into John's truck, but she also broke his windows. And when John and Bill would come over to Bill's parents' house, Rose would be hiding behind the trees watching them. So whether if John Kehoe tried to get a restraining order against Rose or something like that, I do not know. I'm going to try to look into that to see if there's any information out there, but I think it would have been difficult, though, because John and Bill did not exactly have the cleanest record. They were in the drug business together, and I'm pretty sure, you know, it's unfortunate. I certainly do not approve of that stuff. And they had customers all over Michigan. So one night, Rose stopped by the convenience store to visit her mother who worked there. And she said, "Mom, I'm going to walk over to Keith's house," which was her boyfriend at the time. So I guess I want to correct what I said earlier. I think what they meant by relationship was that John and Rose remained friends after they broke up. But probably still hooked up. Probably. But, you know, that's just a guess on my part. Now, Keith was her new boyfriend, but Rose's mother did not want her to walk to his house that night for some reason. You know, she said, "I asked her not to walk tonight. I told her that I had a bad feeling and to go back and take the van, but she didn't want to do that." And, you know, maybe some people prefer to walk instead of driving. Maybe he didn't live so far away from the convenience store, but still, I mean, I don't know. I've never been to Michigan, and obviously I don't know what it was like back in the 90s. But, yeah. I mean, some people like to walk. I mean, I wish I could walk in my neighborhood, but I'm always afraid of being chased by dogs, and I hate dogs. I'm absolutely terrified of them. But unfortunately, Rose did not return home that night. And I'm sure some people would think, well, you know, she was a little bit of a party girl. Maybe she and Keith went to a party, or maybe she spent the night at his place, or I don't know, maybe she got drunk. I mean, unfortunately, she was around that stuff. Well, the next morning, Rose's mother called Keith to find out if Rose was with him still. Keith replied, "Rose never showed up." And then to make it worse, Rose didn't show up for work that day either. Now, the police officers in Lansing, Michigan, you know, they described Rose as independent and rebellious, which I'm pretty sure, just from hearing this part one of this video alone, it's kind of obvious. And sometimes when people are 18, when they either don't return home or they don't like keep in contact with their parents, you know, obviously you should always have contact with your parents just so that they know where you are. And they wondered that since she was so rebellious, that maybe she just decided to leave the area and just start over, you know, to make a fresh start to her being an adult, which happens. But there is one problem. Like most teenagers, Rose loved to talk to her friends on the phone. Apparently, she would make 1,500 telephone calls every month. Yes, you heard me. 1,500. 1,500 calls a month. I don't even think I made that many calls a month when I was a teenager. My sister probably did. But no one heard from Rose after she disappeared. No one. And we're going to listen to a quote of what Rose's mother had to say about that.
Nobody heard from Rosie. And the detective that was assigned the case, that was his sign that there was something wrong there. Because he said that someone just doesn't break a habit like that.
And that's why you always need to pay attention to people's routines. You know, it's like, do I talk to this person every day? Or I know this person talks to her like all the time and stuff like that, or every now and then. Or just pay attention to what they do, you know. And if anything seems out of the ordinary, it's either just a coincidence or there's something wrong. And the fact that a girl who made 1,500 telephone calls every month, but no one heard from her after she disappeared that night, that's a red flag on its own. And it's always a parent's worst nightmare. And first, the investigators were hoping that something in Rose's phone records might be able to provide a clue. So did Rose Larner flee town? Or did something worse happen to her? You will find out in part 2. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please let me know how you feel about this in the comments, and I will see you soon. My name is Tanya, and you're watching Tanya Files.